If you are unhappy with your custody situation with the other parent, there are a few things that you should do. It depends really on whether you are going through a legal action, you've already started a legal action, or whether you're just chilling and you haven't started anything yet and you're still married. It depends on where you're at in the process. If you're still married, and you haven't started anything yet and you're unhappy with your custody situation, you should be thinking about what you can do that's best for your kids. If you're still married, you need to know that if you don't have any formalized custody orders, which is the standard, right? You don't have a baby and make custody orders. So if you don't have any custody orders, your spouse can take your kid at any time, and there's not that much you can do about it. So if you are worried about your spouse's mental health, or your spouse has a substance abuse problem, or your spouse is threatening to take your kids to a different country because your spouse is from a different country, you need to take those threats seriously. I don't know how many times I've had a client where that happens and they're not taking it seriously, and then a week later they wind up back in our office because something happened. And it's so heartbreaking because we could have helped you. So if you have a spouse that is threatening to do something dangerous with your child, don't just laugh it off and think, oh, that's just how they are sometimes. Oh, he or she is just having a hard time and just letting it out on me. These things actually happen, and they're much more likely to happen if you've already been warned about it. If you have a spouse that's telling you he or she is going to file false restraining orders in order to steal the kid from you, take it seriously. This happens all the time. If this is happening to you, what you need to do is get formalized custody orders to protect your child. Think about your child, not you. Is it in your kid's best interest to be taken to a different country without you? Probably not, right? So formalize those custody orders. If you're still married, you can formalize those custody orders by starting your divorce action. If you start your divorce action, there are laws in California, once the petition for divorce is filed and served, that your spouse cannot take your kid to a different country. If they're protected right away. Other ways you can formalize your custody orders is by reaching agreements with your spouse. If you're planning on getting divorced, you can talk to your spouse, or you can have your attorney talk to your spouse or your spouse's attorney about how, you want to share custody. Maybe you want to equally share custody, but you just want to agree, that your kid stays in a certain school or stays in a certain area, or, that isn't taken on extended vacations outside of the country with the other parent. It really depends on what you're looking for, but all of these types of arrangements can be negotiated. If you are not married and you have a kid with the other parent and you don't have any open action with the court, these same things apply. Even if you're not married, the other parent, as long as they are formally, the parent of your child based on the, declaration they signed, they can take your child wherever they want. Even if you've maybe verbally agreed on something, if it's not in writing and formalized with the court, it's pretty open-ended. So if you're worried about your child's safety or well-being, it's really imperative that you meet with a family law attorney and that attorney formalize custody orders to protect your kid. It's really critical that you do this so that nothing can happen. If you don't do this and you don't listen to my advice and something happens to your kid, we'll work with you, right? We've had clients who their children were taken to other countries and we've gotten them back, right? It's very complicated. It can take a while. But as long as the country that your child is taken to is a Hague country, we have a much better chance of getting them back. We have clients that don't listen to us and something terrible happens to their kid because the other parent has a mental health issue or substance abuse issue, and I lose sleep at night about it, and our attorneys do. But it happens, mistakes happen, and then, we can eventually get you emergency custody orders or domestic violence restraining orders, something that's going to protect your kid from the other parent. So I think the number one thing you should do when evaluating what to do if you want to potentially change custody is meet with a family law attorney and take action and follow your gut. And if you believe your child is in harm's way, do something about it right now. Because if you're not doing something about it, who else is going to? Sometimes people get divorced and they want to be agreeable and accommodating because they really want the financial part of their divorce timely resolved and they don't want to deal with it. Maybe you own a business and you really want your spouse to just waive their rights to your business because you don't want to worry about it. Maybe you want them to waive spousal support because you really don't want to have to pay them spousal support forever. Fine, you were selfish. You resolved the financial issues first and you didn't care about your kids. Now you're forced to have joint legal and joint physical custody and you don't think the other parent is a good parent to your kids and you're seeing your kids kind of start to wilt, right? Maybe they're having issues with anxiety and depression, or maybe the other parent isn't agreeing to get your kids the medical care they need, or keep them in the school they need to stay in, or keep them in therapy like they need, or all of these things that your kids have come to rely on for their general stability and welfare. Maybe the other parent no longer is agreeing to it. Or maybe you had a great resolution of your divorce. You did what you believed was best for your kids, and the other parent changed. The other parent got a new girlfriend or boyfriend and is starting to do what that new girlfriend or boyfriend is wanting them to do. Or, the other parent got remarried and is no longer behaving like they used to, and you feel like your kids are suffering detriment. Maybe the other parent is bringing your kid around these shady people that are criminals, and you don't know what's going on and you don't feel safe. It's really hard once you're divorced and you're no longer together. You don't have as much control over what your child's going to be doing in the other parent's home and under the other parent's care. And that's really scary. And it's really scary too if you have a kid that's communicating to you when they come to you and have parenting time with you, and they sound like they're scared when they're with the other parent, or they're telling things to you that don't hit right to you and make you feel a bit concerned and like there's red flags going on. These are all reasons why, you should modify your custody arrangement. So just because you agreed to something when you got divorced doesn't mean it's permanent, right? Custody is always modifiable based upon a change in circumstances. So if you believe that the situation has changed from when you got divorced, or your kid has changed, your kid maybe has different needs. Maybe your kid suddenly has been diagnosed with some sort of special need by the IEP, or, by a therapist. Maybe your kid has some sort of medical issue. It depends, right? But life changes. Life's not stagnant. So if something has changed and you need to modify your custody orders, you can and you should. And you can modify your custody orders by agreement, where you reach agreements with the other parent and we put it all in writing and we submit it to the court and the judge signs it. Or maybe it's not so easy. Maybe the other parent won't agree, so we have to try to negotiate something with the other attorney, or we need to bring it in front of the court, and the court needs to make the right decision. But there are lots of opportunities for you in order to do what's best for your kid. All you need is a family law attorney to help guide you through this, so that we can make sure that, your kid turns out okay and your kid is provided all the opportunity your kid needs to, really feel comfortable and stable and to thrive in spite of having his or her parents get divorced.